Hi, lovers and leaders fam. Here I am again, Dr. Sarah, your IO psychologist friend, okay? And now, okay, I am going to be dabbing into the reactions, okay? My reactions to the reality TV show of it all, okay? And this episode of my YouTube is going to be on the Real Housewives of Miami. Season 7 are we on? And this is episode 14. Yes, I am at the tail end of this all, but I just had an epiphany. And I said, even though I'm not so much as often as I used to be a like housewives stan anymore, I just watch like little clips here and there. I figured for my people here in Lovers and Leaders, okay, we can glean something from these lovely ladies that have put their lives out there for everybody to commentate on, right? Comment on? Okay, yeah. So among like this Housewives of Miami, we've got a lot of people that always, trying again for love, hey Lassa, hey Alexis, okay, with the free divorces right now. I feel so bad for her. I really feel so bad for her. But they're always trying to be lovers, okay? And there's some love in them, for sure, okay? And there's leadership in these women. Many of them are, boss ladies. They have their own businesses, like such as Gertie, with the whole, event planning stuff that she does. And, for the most part, they're all influencers, okay? Influencers. So there's leadership there too. So let's see what we can learn and what I, Dr. Sarah, and whatever things you want to talk about as well, think about this episode. All right. So this is my first reaction. All right. So please don't expect me to be like some of the other folks that you watch, that give these recaps of reality shows. So I'm going to do my best. Okay. Usually I just watch, right? When I've watched before, I just watch and then react, talk to some people about it and let it go. So now I'm kind of, giving feedback, my thinking. So just bear with me. All right. So in this episode 7 of Miami, and we love Miami. I love Miami. The last time I was in Miami was 2023. Yeah. And it's just beautiful. I just love the aesthetics of nice places. Anyway, we love Miami. We love the way they dress. They are really great fashionistas, aren't they? Like seriously, they dress really, really well. Really well. So anyway, the episode, okay, opens up with Gertie. All right, we love Gertie, even though she does talk a lot and she kind of gets in where she can get in. All right, but I do appreciate that she tries to always be friends with everyone. But I'm gonna come back to that, as we go on. So anyway, I believe the episode opens up. This is episode 14. Yes, I'm at the tail end of this season 7. And she's talking to Stephanie, the newbie that came in to the show on episode 4. And basically she's just checking up on Stephanie just to see how she's doing, get a gauge of how she's feeling. Because, they're preparing for their next type of, gathering as a girls group. So she wants to she cares. Gertie cares. She really does care about people. She's actually a really loving person. I could see someone like her being a good friend. All right. So that's what we open up with. And basically Gertie's asking Marysol, have you talked to Alexia? Have you talked to Marysol, right? Because they just didn't want to get on her private jet. And we've seen from previous episodes, Stephanie, little button she is, she just somehow, I don't know if she really means it, but somehow it always seems to get back to her wealth and what she has. And it does feel like sometimes she lords that over them. So that's why Marysol was like, yeah, I'm not getting on that. Like, no. And Alexis followed. So, Stephanie's just obviously hurt that those two didn't join her on her private jet. Because even though Stephanie is like a boss lady and she appears very confident, I get a sense from her that she's just trying to get in the in crowd, and she's just trying to feel liked by Alexis and Marysol, okay? And I have my thoughts on that. We can talk about that as we go on, but she just wants to get in that in crowd with those two, Alexis and Marysol. All right. So the next segment, all right, of the show, we go to Julia and Marysol. They have a lunch, and Marysol's checking on Julia because I guess Julia's been really upset with the whole situation with her two daughters not appreciating the fact that, you know, her and Martina adopted two baby black boys and did not even bring her two daughters as part of the process. I don't understand Julia. But Julia gives me, when she wants something, she's just going to do everything to get it. And she knew she was going to get resistance from her daughters, right? But I just feel like that really says a lot about Julia's character. That she would go ahead with her, you know, Martina, her wife, right? To adopt two black babies and bring them part of her family, and her two daughters that have been there from the beginning in her life don't know anything about it. So yeah, I understand why the two daughters feel some way about that. I mean, wouldn't you? Let me know in the comment section. So anywho, in the lunch with Marysol, Julia proceeds to basically say to Marysol that one of her daughters at least said in a conversation, I love you, you know? So she's like, you know, seeing that as like hope that finally one of her daughters, the younger one, that's been showing more of the resistance. Both of them have really, but the younger one. So she, like I said, she had a conversation with her younger daughter, and the younger daughter said after the conversation, I love you, Mom. So she's seeing that as finally some opening of mending that relationship with her daughter. Julia, I don't know, like we've seen a lot with Julia this season 7, and just like for some of you out there, I'm the same. I'm not liking her. And what's up with her hairstyle at the lunch? Like, what is that it's just like two horns but curled. And there's another hairstyle that she does later on in this episode. I'm gonna talk about it here. Yeah, don't hate me for saying this, but is it a coincidence? Hello, Nene. Is it a coincidence that she adopted two black boys and all of a sudden she's wearing cornrows on her hair, like braiding her hair? I don't know. Don't hate me. Don't throw tomatoes at me. I just think, like, is it coincidence? She's just really experimenting with her hair a lot this season. And I'm just like, she gets to two boys and then all of a sudden she's doing cornrows. Listen. I like to experiment with my hair too. Yes, depending on my mood, I'll be having different styles. Yes. And you know, quite frankly, braids are for everybody. Cornrows are for everybody. Wigs are for everybody. All right. And there's that. Moving on. All right. In that same conversation with Marysol and Julia, they then talk about Stephanie's, you know, ongoing issues in communication and this whole, you know, private jet situation. Anyway, what I found funny about this Marysol, she was like, Stephanie has not learned to lube her conversations. Basically, Marysol is having a big issue, right, with Stephanie and her delivery, her toughness, and, you know, just her directness and just not considering people's feelings, all right? And she's fair to say that. But I'm like, she was like, yeah, Stephanie needs to lube her conversations. I mean, let me know in the comment section, do some of you need to lube your conversations with people, like smoothing it out, you know, so it's just easy for people to take, okay? All right, and receive. Let me know if anyone is having some issues with those communication issues and sign up for one of my services, okay? All right, moving on. We get to Kiki. and her dad. All right. I actually love Kiki's mini sequence skirt. I really, really love that. Didn't really like her wig, but that's besides the point. Okay. I love the sequence skirt, and the black top was quite nice too. Yeah, quite nice too. But anyway, her dad, low key, I was like, he's kind of fit and like young looking. Is it just me? Like, let me know in the comment section. Like, I was like, that is your dad? When did he have you? What? I was like, okay. Anyway, she sits with her dad to have lunch. And, they're both Haitian. So I love that they were bantering with their Haitian language. That was really cute and nice. And I love that Kiki still has that, even though she's the firstborn, I'm a firstborn. And I love that she still is like a daddy's girl, kind of, right? She really loves her dad. And I love how the conversation led into the fact of, she said, when she was young in her teens, she was really close to her dad, right? But she had a stepmom. And at some point, the stepmom was just like, Kiki, get out my house. And Kiki's dad was like, yeah, agreed. Kiki got on the streets, finally got to the US of A, got to Miami, and she didn't have much. She scraped by, as we know her story. She's said it a few times. Finally, she got herself into modeling, and she's, look at her, housewives, right? So this was a really good healing conversation for her that she really needed. And I was super happy that her father was open, and he did, have to admit, yes, he agreed with the stepmom to tell her to leave. But I saw that he didn't want that to happen. But I'm sure in that moment, he had to, in his mind, I need to save my marriage. I don't even know if he's still married to her stepmom. I didn't really catch that. If he's still married to the stepmom, let me know in the comment section. So I didn't catch that. Anyway. So I like that Kiki was trying to introduce the dad to this, oh God, what was it? Something tartar. Anyway. Some kind of fish tartar thing. Anyway, he finally ate and he loved it because she's like, listen, enough with the rice. Enough with the Haitian food. Stop being so Haitian. And then the dad's like, yeah, pretty much I'm always going to be Haitian. So, but I really do appreciate that even though she was describing like Haitian men are very strict and, they're not trying to be honest with the mistakes they've made. I could see that the dad was definitely like shed layers and opened up to the conversation. The dad is so funny. At some point, he was like, listen, you're here being upset with me and crying, like you're still upset about the situation that, your stepmom set you out. But here I am, cameras in my face, okay, having a conversation with you. I'm doing my best kind of thing, right? I'm just paraphrasing. So she starts laughing. He starts laughing. I thought, oh, that's so cute. I love that. I love that. So you can tell there's a lot of healing there. And what was interesting to me, he said something like, I thought, well, I guess this is a silver lining. He was like, well, if your stepmother never sent you out of the house, then you wouldn't have had the life you have right now in Miami. You wouldn't have basically ended up in Real Housewives of Miami, right? And being a celebrity. I thought, wow, that is a silver lining, I guess. But this girl has gone through some trauma, and I know she's still healing, okay? But I really do believe this conversation that she's having with her dad is super healing. What's so interesting too, that reminded me of like the African culture, and I know in the Nigerian culture, I'm Nigerian. She went to talk about how like, her family in Haiti were send her death threats if she don't help them come over to the US of A. Death threats. Now, I'm not saying Nigerians have done death threats, but it's just the pressure. Because she even said that they think that she's some big time rich person and that she can bring everybody, all her family, right? So in that same lunch conversation, she talks about, and I believe the dad talks about how he had to travel to Haiti and settle things with the family. I'm sure, like, leave her alone. And I'm sure, Kiki gave him some money to give to them to quieten them up. But I know some of you who are the diaspora family, okay, that's come overseas, the pressure, the weight, the entitlement that some of your family members have towards you. I mean, what the hell? Like, what the hell? Like, I'm not quite as it kept. I don't know if I should share, but I'll just say this. There was a time I went to Nigeria and I went to a particular family home, uncle, aunt, and I looked around and I said to my mother, these people have money and they've been bugging you and dad for money? I'll leave it there from what happened after. But things changed. So what am I saying? Sometimes these overseas families, they have their money and they want your money. And they feel so entitled to your money. Just because you're in the United States of America, or maybe in the UK, or maybe in Canada. I want all of them to come here because I really want them to see that you have to work. Because the money actually isn't flowing from the trees. It's made from the trees, but it's just not flowing from the trees. You do have to work, okay? Anyway, let me move on from that because that really hits home. But that death threat thing, yeah, that's deep. But I'm just so happy that her dad, on her behalf and the family's behalf, went over to Haiti to deal with all the, extended family. Please leave us alone. But I really do hope that she gave him some money to, like, just quieten them up and just make a disclaimer such as, don't bother me for the next 3 years, 4 years, something like that. I don't know. This is when you need Jesus. When you're dealing with family like this and it's death threats, if I was Kiki's friend, I'd be like, yeah, you need to go into fasting and praying so they're not doing no kind of like voodoo witchcraft for you. Because I know Haiti is known for some of that stuff, You need prayer, you need Jesus and the blood of Jesus, for real. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Anyway, then we get to a scene with Lisa, better known as Monkey by Marysol. I don't understand that. I'll leave that alone. But Lisa seems to be okay with being called Monkey. I guess it's cute for Lisa. Okay. So we get seen with Lisa and Jody, and Lisa is, picking some clothes for another trip she's going to, right? There's a girl trip coming up. And Jody is funny looking to me. Is it just me? I don't know. He just always looks like alert. And his eyes are always like beady, and he just looks like he's not getting nourished enough. Anyway, Lisa is hilarious. The thing I'll pick out from this scene is that she talks about how she misses being a Mrs. MRS, the Mrs. And she's like, oh, my finger is empty, my finger is empty. She's telling this to Jody. I swear, I would like a friend like Lisa. She is crazy, but funny and cute, okay? Just like, she likes to poke. So she was saying to Jody, and Jody's just sitting there. She's like, yeah, my finger's empty. And, basically she just feels uncomfortable. And then she goes on to say, like, she's only going to marry somebody who's ready to marry her. What? And Jody's like, yeah, okay. Just like a stationary grin, and his eyes alert, not smiling, but just a grimace, a grin, and just like, yeah, okay, yeah. And Lisa's just like, yeah, I want to marry someone that wants to marry me. She is really trying. She needs to be careful not to rush into another toxic marriage. Lenny was enough for a lifetime. Okay. But she said she wants to marry someone. She wants to marry someone that wants to marry her. But what if you don't want to marry him? So is it just that as long as he wants to marry you, then you're fine? See, this is why you still need Jesus, and you need some therapy, and you need some time out before you even think about marriage, Miss Lisa. But anyway, she was being, tongue in cheek about it. But then it went to a segment whereby Jody and Lisa are in the confessional, and Jody is very transparent. He basically says, just regarding this whole, marriage thing, he's like, listen, he's getting lawsuits. They're getting lawsuits, from Lenny here and there. That they think, they're trying to move on. They get lawsuits again. And then, the drama of the friendship circle, right, of this housewives women. He's like, I'm overwhelmed. And Lisa's like, cut. Basically say to Jody, you're saying too much. You're saying too much. No, I like Jody being honest. But my thing is, Lisa, are you hearing him? Before you spend another year dating him and think you're going to marry him or he's going to marry you, he's letting you know clearly on camera, all right? It ain't happening anytime soon, okay? Because of the lawsuits, because of the friendship pressure, and he also mentioned something about her. He alluded with some words, I forget all the words, that like she's a bit much. And I thought, when I watched, I thought, Lisa, he done told you he's not going to marry you. Because he even said, we're going to have to speak to somebody, i.e. therapy. And this is what I really do believe. Lisa needs some therapy. She needs some counsel. She needs someone to talk to about everything she's been through. And also in those conversations, talk about, where does she take responsibility of how her marriage went and the choices that she made in that marriage, so that she can acknowledge those things that didn't work, so that she doesn't bring it into a potential marriage with Jody. And Jody is smart and intelligent and discerning to be like, yeah, we're gonna have to talk to somebody before all this marriage stuff, right? So maybe there will be a marriage, maybe there won't. I don't know. Let's just keep watching. All right. Then we get to a segment with Stephanie. Stephanie's looking good. Like, she is giving me like luxury lifestyle, like she's telling us that she lives, okay? Yes. I love her white outfit, like the jumpsuit. It's nice. It's something like that I would wear to like a girl's brunch. Yeah. Or some kind of lunch charitable event. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, Stephanie introduces us to her friend Anastasia, who looks a bit older than her, comes from, she was just traveling from LA. Again, another rich person, very rich, very wealthy. And I love the woman's outfit, Anastasia's outfit. I don't know if I would wear that, but she looked good in it. And Anastasia is like, she has Anastasia Beauty, right? So anywho, Stephanie talks about how wonderful Anastasia is. If she has any problems at all, she goes to Anastasia. Okay, so they're the best of friends kind of thing. But I really see Anastasia, as we go through this segment with them, I really see Anastasia as more like a big sister or like a mentor, right? Because they're both in this luxury brand space. And I do like the fact that Stephanie has chosen a friend like Anastasia, who are, in some respects, in terms of like, your life purpose, they're like equally yoked. Because you don't want to have too many friends, especially when you're in a particular upper echelon. I've seen vicariously through others and through my own life, you really want to maintain close friendships with people that are on your level. Intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, please. Please and thank you. Okay? You really do. because you understand each other a little bit more, and there's no insecurity there. Well, a little less, okay, when it comes, because especially, this is all about friendships, this episode, so you really want to choose friends that are swimming in your pond, okay? Anyway, Stephanie shows that she's a really good friend because she has, a bunch of Anastasia's products that she's going to gift for the girls, all right, which I love. I love how she's like promoting her friend's line, and she did say in the episode, that she wears Anastasia's beauty products. So I love that. I love when, confident, business type women are literally just, encouraging each other and just lifting each other up. And I believe Stephanie, with her attitude and because she's already a businesswoman, she can do that. Now, if she wasn't in that upper echelon like Anastasia or similar to Anastasia, I would be surprised if she could do that, right? That's why I said choose your friends wisely. Choose your friends wisely. Especially as you up your gaming life, you level up, in all your beauty routines, life routines, thinking routines. Please choose your friends wisely, okay? Because it gets real dicey when you are unequally yoked. Let me know in the comment section if you understand what I'm talking about, please, and thank you. Okay, so I really like that about Stephanie, just branding Anastasia's products on her platform, Real Housewives, right? And I also like that Stephanie talked about there's a Kiki drink. There's a specialized Kiki drink. I think Kiki is Kiki inspired drink. And basically Stephanie's helping with that, I believe. And then the proceeds of that specialized Kiki drink is going to Kiki's foundation for Haitian health. And I thought that was so wonderful. Stephanie is really a good friend, really. I know her delivery's off, okay? But I could see she's really like that girl's girl deep inside, okay? She really is. Anyway, Stephanie and Anastasia go and sit down and they have some Kiki, and pretty much the conversation is Anastasia at some point thinking that Stephanie was pregnant. I don't know how that she thought that. And then Stephanie's like, yeah, no, I'm 40, and what's her man's name? Mahmoud, something like that. He's like 24 years older, and she can't really see him with kids, or she's afraid that, she's just afraid of having a 24-year gap, and she's 40 is going to be a problem for her raising kids. And I get that. But Anastasia's like, you should be having 3 kids by now anyway, right? Anyway. And I love that Anastasia says to Stephanie, you'll be a really good mom, you're disciplined. And I can see that. I feel like she's definitely she would be somebody that really will raise her kids really well in all facets, except she would need to like change her delivery so she don't have kids barking right back at her. And she did have like almost a meltdown in her confessional saying like, what if my kids, kill me or murder me? I can't control kids. That's her problem. She wants to control everything. Like, what is that about that? She's another one that needs a little bit of therapy and definitely some Jesus Christ of love. Anyway, in that conversation, Stephanie basically opens up to Anastasia about this new girl group that she's in, with the housewife girls. And to sum it up, Anastasia's like, yeah, I understand that. Oh, Stephanie says, they say that my delivery is basically bad and is too bossy. They say that my delivery is bossy. That's what Stephanie's saying to Anastasia. And as Anastasia's empathetic, she said, look, the reality is you are a boss lady and you work with a lot of men. And generally with a lot of men, you can't show too much emotion. You can't show you're weak. You can't show you're vulnerable. So she understood why Stephanie acts the way she does. And then Stephanie's like, basically like, she loves Anastasia. She feels so seen. And this is what she's been trying to tell the ladies, right? But my thing is, just because when you're around men, you are having to be like tough and strong, why is it so hard to like transition to be the woman that you want to be with the ladies? I mean, Anastasia does say, she understands how tough it is. And I do like the fact that Anastasia says, you know what, this girl group will probably be really good for you, to soften you up and things like that. And I think so too. I think so too. But it is fascinating, right? That Stephanie has literally crystallized an identity for herself as a woman, but she has a man's spirit. Let's keep it a buck. She has a man's spirit and she's identified with that. She's married to that. It's like she doesn't think she has any power to come out of that. She definitely needs some therapy. She definitely needs to recognize that it's her own belief systems that's like keeping her stuck. And who told her those belief systems are correct? If it's not working for you with the girls, that should be an indicator that this belief system of this identity you have as a woman, but with a manly spirit, is incorrect. It's incorrect. And to be fair, like some of you know, like working with men a lot, I've done that before. Depending on the environment, you might feel like you have to act like, or at least, be ready to buck up to a man because quiet as it's kept. There's some men I've come across in my career that they feel threatened by a woman that has leadership potential, leadership skills. Very rare, but it's there. It's very much there. And they will buck up to you as if you're a man. There are some toxic men out there in the work world that they will go head to head with a woman. Yeah, they literally see that woman as a threat to their lion's lair. Yes, I've seen that. I can see why, if she's always exposed to that, how that environment can certainly impact your spirit, your emotion, your consciousness. But it's just your job. It's not your whole world. And this is why I say to some of you women, like, why does your job or what you do have to be your whole identity? I mean, again, I have met some women that literally their identity is their job. I believe God has given me purpose, but I don't believe that's my entire identity. I'm a whole IO psychologist, for example, and so many other things I do, but I can do this too, like reaction videos, right? Like, you're not just one identity. Well, actually, one identity is for sure, I'll always say I'm a child of God. Yes, that is eternal. Yes, I'll say that. Yes. Thank you and please. Okay, thank you and please. Thank you, Jesus. But like all other identities are just like temporary. They're temporary. While we're in this body, they're temporary. So I would really encourage, if you're someone like a Stephanie, that you've allowed men in your life, whether out of heartbreak, whether out of the work world, you've allowed them to make you lose your feminine identity. But yet, that identity, that non-feminine identity is now affecting your friendship groups, and your friendship groups they're letting you know this ain't working. Or it could be your husband. I'll be curious if Stephanie takes her boss lady attitude to her husband, to her man. It doesn't work. So when you get that feedback from people in your life, I mean, I'm talking to those of you who have struggles with that feminine, masculine identity, all right? Masculine, feminine, whatever. I would, and you get feedback from your partner, your man, your husband, your kids, your girlfriends that like, you're a bit too bossy. Yeah, because naturally as women, we're not bossy. We have influence through our behaviors and things we say, but we're not pushing. We're not pushy. And oftentimes that happens out of insecurity and a lot of anxiety and fear. And that anxiety and fear makes one want to control people and control situations. Let's not do that. Thank you and please. All right, moving on. Okay. So then we get to the segment of what's our friend Marysol, okay, giving the ladies a Virgin cruise trip. Richard Branson showed up on her phone, by the way. Hi, Richard Branson. And who would have thought she knows him? Like, how did that even happen? Anyway, they didn't tell us. Anyway, so she takes the girls. We see the girls coming down, getting into the cruise trip. It's a 2-day Virgin cruise trip that starts in Miami and ends in Miami. Yeah, okay. Anyone been on a cruise before? I've actually been to only one, to the Bahamas, for 5 days. I really want to go on another one. Let me know your experience of cruise trips. 5 days was a lot, but then again, it was because of I don't think the company was right. When you go on a cruise, make sure you go with the right people or the right person. Thank you. Anyway, you can see how excited the women are getting on this cruise ship. They all look lovely. I love Gertie's outfit, that leather, short crop top, black leather short crop top, black leather long skirt. She had the jacket. She had this beret. She looked, chef's kiss, absolutely gorgeous. They all look gorgeous, really. I loved Lisa's pumps. She's a little petite, but I loved her shoes. I loved her pumps. Beautiful. They all look beautiful. They always give in Miami. Always giving. So anyway, we get introduced to also nautical Stephanie, supposed to be the calm version of her. After that conversation with Anastasia, she's really trying to calm down and be more feminine in this next segment. So we'll see how long that lasts for. Okay, we will see. All right. Now, at some point, after they take pictures and look at all the scenery from the deck of the cruise, we see Gertie, friend to everybody, go and talk to Adriana. I love Adriana, and basically checks upon her. Gertie is that friend to check up on you. Okay, God bless Gertie. So she goes to check up on Adriana because Adriana is sitting away from the rest of the girls, just kind of like drinking, maybe a little bit tipsy. And basically what we find out from that conversation is Adriana is having the blues because, her birthday's coming up. And from Gertie is like she wants to ignore her birthday. And the reason why is because Adriana's like, she's feeling really vulnerable about getting older, basically. And she talks about ageism. And it's a real thing. She talks about how, she's been exchanged or swapped out for a younger model twice. And I feel so bad. I'm sure this was a dating life, right? But she's dating somebody now. But she's feeling the pressure of getting older. And she's feeling the pressure of being devalued. And, Adriana is that girl back in the day, right? She can get any guy. She goes to all these parties and stuff like that. But it's starting to hit her that she's getting older and she's not having the same impact, I guess, in her social scene as she was before. But I like that Gertie's trying to pump her up, trying to encourage her because Adriana still looks good, doesn't she? She still looks really good. It's crazy how society can make you feel that you're past your expiration date is coming. But I think it's all about attitude. Because there are some people out there who are like in their 60s, 70s, and they have such a great attitude. They have such a youthful spirit. If I was Adriana's friend, I would be like, you need to tap into youthful spirit. All right. And stop thinking that you're getting older. And just like Gertie was saying, like, enjoy and be grateful for the fact that you're still alive, basically. Still alive and kicking and looking good. And you're on a platform such as Housewives of Miami. All right. And, I think for Adriana, I would love her to just settle into a marriage and be a kept woman and just go on cruises and just have like dinners and lunches for her closest friends. That's what I want for Adriana. That's what I really want. But anyway, moving on. Then they go to Marysol's suite, or is it suit? Hey Kiki, okay. So they go off to Marysol's suite, okay? It's a rock star suite. And Lisa's just like, wow, I thought, suites in cruises are smaller than this. Well, this is Richard Branson's Virgin Cruise. Nothing is small on the Virgins. Okay? How about that? So they have a good time. They go into the room. They see food everywhere. And, I feel like I would love that. Good God. I need a girls trip on a cruise. I think so. Okay? Anyway, they're just loving their life, living their best life. And then Marysol gathers the girls together and basically talks about in their last trip, it ended really badly. So what she thinks is a good idea is to split the girls up, okay, as a form of therapy. I don't understand that. Where's your license, Marysol, in therapy? Like, I don't understand that. Anyway, she splits the group up two ways. One group is Gertie, Larsa, Stephanie, and Kiki. 4. All right, they go to this other side of the cruise, having dinner. All right, and drinks. And then you have Adriana. In the group, the second group, you get Adriana, you get Marysol, you get Alexia, and you get Lisa, and you get Julia. Okay. So anyway, they split up, and I gotta say, I don't understand how Marysol makes those decisions, but whatever. I gotta say though, the Larsa group, the Larsa, Kiki, Stephanie, and Gertie group just felt a little cold. It didn't feel so kumbaya as opposed to the other group. A bit more familiarity there, a bit more closeness. Yeah, I mean, Larsa and Gertie in previous season, were at each other's throats, okay? Gertie can't trust Larsa, but she's forgiven her and moved on, right? And then Kiki and Larsa are really close. The last time I used to watch this, religiously, they were really close, but Kiki and Larsa are not close anymore. So now in this new season, episode 4, Larsa's introducing Stephanie as her close bestie, right? So I feel like Larsa, no wonder I was feeling a bit cold with this group, because Larsa has had beef or indirect beef with Kiki, no longer really close with her anymore, and beef with Gertie, and then, okay, the new person, Stephanie. And Stephanie, for the most part, was quiet at the beginning of their, foursome. And, Larsa and Kiki are just taking shots. And Gertie's like, yeah, go girls. She's not taking shots like that. So it was kind of a bit boring. It just wasn't close enough. It was like, ugh. And then, the other group, we get Julia and Lisa sitting first, waiting for the other 3 ladies. And Lisa's so funny, but she's so cute. She's like, I'm here first, basically. The others are late. She's always late. This is her first time being early, and she says in her confessionals, this is what she did. Girl, can I speak? Her coming early, is new for her, and she thinks this is gonna be her new thing now. We will see. And then we see when what's her name? Marysol and Alexia sit down. Lisa's like, thanks for joining us. You're late, being really sarcastic. Alexia doesn't give her the time of day, and nor does Marysol. They both smile and just keep it going. And then Lisa's like, so you're late, you're just smiling and basically keep it going. And both of them say, yeah, that's basically what you do when you're late, okay? And so then Adriana joins in rather late. She was sleeping. She said she wasn't feeling well. She was at the 5th wheel, but she made it. Anyway, in their conversation, they started talking about the issues that Lisa's having with Larsa, and Alexia's like, and Marysol are pretty much big on like, you need to sort this out. This is getting too much, okay? And I'm not going to go too much into it, but basically they ended with Cody should get out of the situation. No more texting with Larsa. Okay. And Lisa's like, yeah, as long as that they, her and Larsa get their egos out of the way, they should be good. Right. That's what Lisa believes. And on the other table, the other group, they talk about, again, the Larsa issue. All right. And Larsa's wanting her to apologize much more than she. And then we get into this conversation with nautical Stephanie opening up and talk about her issues, all right, with the Marysol and Alexia of it all right. So she's open, and we didn't get much resolve there, but anyway, we move on. I'm gonna move on from that. Okay. Anyway, there was a snippet of after that night, we get into the next morning, and Stephanie in her 80s jumpsuit, gym outfit, exercise, aerobic outfit, very colorful and cute, goes to Marysol's room, and they get chatting. And to cut a long story short, Stephanie's basically like, I didn't know you didn't like me. And basically Marysol's like, listen, I want to like you for you, not for your private jet, not for the things that you have. And I just feel like you're just basically lording over my life kind of thing. So Stephanie apologizes, and that pretty much ends that. And they're just going to, start fresh with their friendship. Great. All right. Then, all right, we get into a snippet with Larsa on the phone of Alexis, and who's else in the room? Alexis is in the room, Julia is in the room, and Marysol's in the room, and they're talking to Larsa via the iPhone video conference, and Larsa is like, it's almost like she's on her, what do you call those things? I forgot that thing that she's on now. But anyway, she's like tipsy, okay? And she's showing her bits, her wobbly bits. And she's basically saying like, I want to basically spend time with you all, because she's like, I want to spend time with them. And, Alexis is also saying, yes, we're going to have you to ourselves and blah, blah, blah. And I find it interesting at this segment that after the two groups split, Larsa is saying basically, when she says that I want to spend time with you all, i.e., Alexia, Marysol, and Julia, okay, it tells me that she also probably felt very like cold energy with the group that she was with, Kiki and Stephanie and Gertie. She wasn't feeling the warmth. And it was interesting that Kiki at some point said, with her group, she said, I don't like when the group splits. All right. I want to spend time with all my friends, I noticed about the dynamics of this friendship group though, is that the force multiplier, the strength of the relationship between Alexia and Marysol, it's almost like all the other girls are wanting to be around them. And I have to say, like, if you lesson learned from that is that when you're in a group, especially a new group, don't try and be friends with everybody. I mean, be friendly, but don't try and be friends with everybody like a Gertie. It's just like, it's just, no, just find your friend. Align with the people that you feel that resonance with and invest in that. Because there's such power and influence and strength in that, and, loyalty. And that's what, Marysol and Alexia are showing. And what I find is the power that they have over the rest of the group, or the influence. And it's almost like their mothers, even though, they have issues, but like they have this kind of matriarchal energy in the group that everybody wants to just be with them. Larsa wants to be around them. You've got, Stephanie just like wanting to be around them, like trying to do everything to be around them. Literally had a meltdown because they don't come on her PJ, So, there's something to be said when you are in a friend group, to spend energy with the people that you really resonate with, and, do your best to really get to know that person just like you would with a man, right? And I love it because I noticed that both of them have such a pull in that friend group. You know, you've got Gertie that used to be close with Julia, but they're not anymore. And you've got Lassa that used to be close with Lisa. You got Kika that used to be close with Lassa. You've got, you know, Adriana that used to be close with Marysol and Alexia. And I think that it's important to take time to get close to people, you know, even I'm talking from experience. Because oftentimes, I bet you Gertie saw some red flags about Julia, you know, in the beginning and just missed it. I'm sure that Lassa and Lisa saw red flags about each other, but because they like to kiki, haha, and, you know, I'm sure they have some superficial similarities, they just got close really fast. I just think one thing I like about Marysol and Alexia, I believe their friendship has lasted for a very long time. I mean, 7 seasons, that's a good 7+ years of friendship. And I remember a few seasons ago when Miami had a hiatus, they talked about they still maintained their friendship even though Real Housewives of Miami was not on the air. You know, so friendships, take them seriously, especially as you get older. You really got to take things, you really got to invest in the right friendships and nourish them and nurture them. Okay? Then you won't be in a situation like a Kiki, a Gertie, a Lisa, Lassa, where you're kind of like floating in and out. But especially Gertie and Kiki, I just feel like they're just quiet as kept. I just don't see them. Who are their friends really? They're trying to be friends with everybody, and I'm not trying to, like, you know, isolate them. But I'm just like, just find that person you are really close with and invest in it, and be cordial with everybody else. All right. Anyway, we wrap up. All right, after Stephanie and Marysol kumbaya together, we wrap up with like some scenes for the next episode where Alexia is talking about Marysol to Stephanie. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. And Stephanie's not looking happy at all. No, like at all. Okay. At all. So, and then we get Stephanie talking to Adriana that Marysol is a jealous demon acting as a loyal friend. So we will see. You and I will see what's going to happen in episode 15. Yes, I'm in the tail end of this season 7, but we're going to just do this anyway. All right. So let me know in the comment section what you thought about friendship from this episode. Like, seriously, did you learn anything? Is there some things you're already doing? Are you investing in your friendships, like the real ones? And just be cordial with everybody else, because you can't be friends with everyone. Like, it's like being friends with everyone is like being friends with none. All right, it's just very surface. And at this point of my life, and I'm sure with you all, as you get older, friendships is really important to life and health and mental health. So even if it's just the one friend, like Alexia and Marysol, that you can invest in, okay? Do that. Do that. Until next time, all right? Before you leave, encourage me. Let me know if I did good. Give me a like, okay? And feel free to share the video, all right, with someone that you love, okay? Or you like, or is your friend, all right? And I will see you in the next video. Stay blessed. Bye.